The court said, "The government may call its next witness."
Mr. Horton said, "Your Honor, the government calls Sam Roberts."
Samuel Roberts, called as a witness by the government, having been duly sworn, testified as follows.
The court said, "Would you say your name and spell it?"
The witness said, Samuel David Roberts, Samuel, David Roberts.
The court said, "You may inquire."
Direct examination by Mr. Horton.
Good morning, Mr. Roberts.
Good morning.
Where do you work?
I work at Bitgo.
Could you please tell that for the jury and court reporter?
Bitgo.
Mr. Roberts, if you'd like to move the microphone closer, it may be easier for us to hear you. What industry is Bitgo in?
Bitgo is in the blockchain and cryptocurrency industry.
And how long have you worked there?
3 years and 3 months.
What kind of work do you do at Bitgo?
I work in Bitgo's compliance team and I do transaction monitoring and investigations.
As a member of Bitgo's compliance team, Mr. Roberts, did there come a time that you conducted an account review of the Himalaya exchange?
Yes.
We'll come back to that. Generally speaking, Mr. Roberts, what services does Bitgo provide to its customers in the cryptocurrency industry?
Bitgo provides wallet services and custodial services.
Can you explain what you mean by wallet services?
Yes. It's the idea of providing a wallet to our users or customers so they can interact with the blockchain.
And in this context, what is a wallet used for?
A wallet can be used to receive, hold, and send cryptocurrency.
What exactly is your title at Bitgo, Mr. Roberts?
My title is Head of Financial Intelligence Unit.
And as the head of the Financial Intelligence Unit at Bitgo, what information, if any, do you review to perform your job?
I review various pieces of information including a customer's account profile information, transactions, and other information.
And as part of your work on the Financial Intelligence Unit at Bitgo, do you learn about the nature of Bitgo's customers' businesses?
Yes.
And what's your purpose in learning about Bitgo customers' businesses?
In order to understand the activity they are doing on the Bitgo platform.
What kind of things do you learn about Bitgo as customers?
Mr. Skirik said, objection.
The court said, "What kinds of things do you look into about your customers?"
Mr. Roberts, what kinds of things do you look into about Bitgo's customers?
We will review information about their business and people associated with their business.
Mr. Roberts, in your work at Bitgo, what year did you first hear about the Himalaya exchange?
2021.
And when you first heard about the Himalaya exchange, what did you understand it was?
I understood the Himalaya exchange to be a cryptocurrency exchange.
And what was your basis for that understanding?
Information supplied to Bitgo when Himalaya exchange was onboarding to Bitgo to an account.
Who supplied that information to Bitgo about the Himalaya exchange?
I don't recall or I'm aware of the exact person, but Himalaya exchange employees. I recall it was someone.
And what role, if any, did you have in connection with the Himalaya exchange onboarding at Bitgo?
I was not involved in the onboarding of their account to Bitgo.
What work if any, were you doing in connection with the exchange at that time?
At that time Himalaya exchange had requested that Bitgo provide support for 2 cryptocurrencies of theirs.
And what were those cryptocurrencies?
The first one was called Himalaya coin and the second one was called Himalaya dollar.
And what did you understand Himalaya coin to be?
I understood Himalaya coin to be a cryptocurrency with a fluctuating value.
What did you understand Himalaya dollar to be?
I understood Himalaya dollar to be a stable coin.
And what did that mean to you at the time, a stable coin?
To me, a stable coin is a cryptocurrency that derives its value from a different currency or asset.
And how does that work?
The way that works is that you will have the base currency or asset. And you will set aside a number of those. And there will be a corresponding number of cryptocurrency tokens of that asset or currency.
The court said, "What do you mean by set aside?"
The witness said, "What I mean by that is, if I can use a US dollar stablecoin as an example. So if there are 100 cryptocurrency tokens of the US dollar stablecoin, there will be 100 US dollars set aside to give value to those cryptocurrency tokens."
The court said, "But set aside in what way?"
The witness said, "It could vary, but I typically understand that you would set it aside in a bank account, in a bank vault, somewhere where that value cannot be accessed."
The court said, "You may continue."
By Mr. Horton.
What were the products that the Himalaya Exchange was signing for up at Bitgo at this time in 2021?
I recall Himalaya Exchange signing up for our hot wallet services and our custodial services.
And what, if any, wallets are associated with your custodial services?
These wallets are cold wallets.
Mr. Roberts, what's the difference?
The interpreter said, "Can you say that again, Mr. Roberts? What was the services?"
The witness said, "Hot wallet services and custodial services."
Mr. Roberts, you mentioned at the Himalaya Exchange you're signing up for hot wallets and cold wallets. What's the difference at Bitgo between a hot wallet and a cold wallet?
Mr. Skirrick said, "Objection."
The court said, "Overruled. You may answer."
A hot wallet at Bitgo is non-custodial, which means that the user of the wallet maintains the ultimate control of it. Whereas a cold wallet is typically custodial and Bitgo controls that cold wallet.
Is a cold wallet connected to?
The court said, "One moment. When you say holder of the wallet, what are you referring to, an entity? Are you referring to a customer? What do you mean by holder?"
The witness said, "So a cryptocurrency wallet is secured by private keys, and those private keys should only be known to the holder of the wallet."
The court said, "But what do you mean by the holder?"
The witness said, "So the holder of the wallet would be the person or entity that is holding those private keys and they secure the wallet. I think a good example is if you have $100 in your wallet, your physical wallet in your pocket right now. You are holding your wallet. You are securing it. But if you had a $100 in your bank account, it's your bank that is securing it, not yourself."
The court said, "Go ahead."
Mr. Roberts, are these wallets connected to the internet?
Can you clarify which type of wallet you're talking about?
Which, if any, of these wallets are connected to the internet?
Typically hot wallets are by definition connected to internet.
And what's the implication, if any, of a cold wallet not being connected to the internet?
Typically they are regarded as being more secure than hot wallets because if a wallet is disconnected from the internet, it makes it more difficult for a malicious or bad actor to compromise it.
And at this time in 2021, Mr. Roberts, what, if anything, did you understand the Himalaya Exchange would be storing in their Bitgo wallets?
I recall they were looking at storing Himalaya coin and Himalaya dollar.
And where did you get that information from?
I recall that during the account onboarding process that we collect information about what our customer is looking to do. And there was some reference to that in that form.
You said that you conducted a due diligence review when the Himalaya Exchange signed up for these services from Bitgo in 2021. How did you conduct that due diligence review in 2021?
This due diligence review is focused on the Himalaya dollar and the Himalaya coin. And it was an anti-money laundering due diligence review.
What does that mean, an anti-money laundering due diligence review?
It's the process of performing a review on something to look for red flags connected to financial crime or money laundering.
What do you mean by red flags?
In the industry I work in, our big focus is to detect suspicious activity and indicators of financial crime. So red flags is something that we look for to try and inform us if certain customers may have suspicious activity or potential touchpoints to financial crime.
With respect to Himalaya coin and Himalaya dollar, Mr. Roberts, what analysis, if any, were you performing in 2021?
We performed a few different things. The first one was open source research, including something that we called a negative news search in my industry to see if there's information available on the public domain that may present red flags. We were assessing the design of these cryptocurrencies to see if there were any features such as privacy-enhancing features which may present red flags and looking to understand if our blockchain analytics vendor were able to surveil these cryptocurrencies.
What do you mean by blockchain analytics?
Yes. Blockchain analytics is the process of interpreting transactions. Cryptocurrency transactions that occur on a blockchain. And specific to my role, it's the process of trying to understand if these transactions have financial crime red flags.
And what, if anything, were the results of the blockchain analytics for Himalaya Coin and Himalaya Dollar in 2021?
At that time I recall that there was no support for surveilling Himalaya Coin or Himalaya Dollar through our blockchain analytics vendor.
What, if anything, did you take away from that?
I recall concluding that these two cryptocurrencies were in kind of a pre-launch state. So it was probably not likely that our vendor was going to have turned on support for their surveillance yet.
And what does pre-launch state mean?
I understand a pre-launch state to be cryptocurrency that is yet to be available publicly, but is in development, business development.
And, Mr. Roberts, when you talk about blockchain activity, what do you mean by blockchain?
By blockchain, sorry, can you repeat that question?
Sure. You mentioned blockchain activity was something you looked at for Himalaya Coin and Himalaya Dollar in 2021. What do you mean by blockchain?
A blockchain is a distributed ledger that facilitates cryptocurrency transactions.
And what does distributed ledger mean?
It's the idea that a blockchain can exist on various different computers is a good example that may be in distributed geographic locations and accessible by different people. So it's the idea that when transactions are processed on a blockchain that lots of different parties can verify the transactions. And that no single entity or group of people can have control over that process.
Is this something you looked at in your analysis of Himalaya Coin and Himalaya Dollar, the blockchain?
I recall contemplating whether there was blockchain activity of Himalaya Coin and Himalaya Dollar during that review.
And did you find that out?
Yes. My general conclusion that the coins were in a pre-launch state so that there would have been no blockchain activity at that time.
And generally speaking, in your work at Bitgo, how do you look at the blockchain? How do you do that?
We have several methods. We have our blockchain analytics vendors that provide us tools to help us interpret the blockchain. We have an internal database of blockchain transactions. And we also can go on publicly available websites, generally known as block explorers, that allow the public to go and search activity on a blockchain.
When you talk about the blockchain, is this a publicly accessible thing?
Blockchains, typically the activity occurring on a blockchain, such as the transactions, are typically publicly accessible.
Who controls the blockchain?
It would depend on the specific blockchain. But typically blockchains are not controlled by any single individual or group.
Was there a particular blockchain you looked at in connection with the Himalaya Coin and the Himalaya Dollar?
Yes.
Which one was that?
I recall going to look at the Ethereum blockchain because I was of the understanding that these two digital assets were to have interoperability or the basis on that blockchain.
When you say the Ethereum blockchain, is that a publicly accessible thing?
Yes.
The court said, "Did you intractability?"
The witness said, "No."
The court said, "What did you say?"
The witness said, "Can I be refreshed on what I said?" Record was read. The witness said, "I think I was trying to say interoperability. The idea that the Ethereum blockchain is what people call a layer 1 blockchain, and then you can build things on top it of such as cryptocurrencies."
Mr. Robert, who controls the Ethereum blockchain?
Mr. Skirik said, "Objection," asked and answered.
The court said, "You may answer."
I am not aware of any single group or party or entity that controls the Ethereum blockchain. So no one.
How does that work? Are they centralized or decentralized?
Mr. Skirik said, "Objection."
The court said, "You may answer."
I am of the understanding that the Ethereum blockchain is decentralized.
What does that mean, that it's decentralized?
That no single person, Party. Group of people controls the transactions that can occur on that blockchain.
Is that true for the cryptocurrencies that are on that Ethereum blockchain?
Mr. Skirik said, objection.
The court said, well, if you know you can answer.
I think it would depend on the specific cryptocurrency.
Were there any red flags in your pre-launch review of the Himalaya exchange in 2021?
Mr. Skirik said, objection, asked and answered.
The court said, overruled. You may answer.
I do not recall identifying any red flags when I concluded my review in 2021.
And what happened with the Himalaya exchange and Bitgo after you finish your review?
The Himalaya exchange was on board to Bitgo as a customer. And the two cryptocurrencies, Himalaya dollar, Himalaya coin were approved for our wallet support.
Mr. Roberts, after the onboarding in 2021, did there come a time when you conducted an account review of the Himalaya exchange?
Yes.
What year was that account review that you conducted?
It began in 2022.
And under what circumstances does Bitgo conduct account reviews of customers?
There can be various circumstances. Specific to my team, we may initiate an account review when we receive an alert or notification for one of our detection scenarios.
And what, if anything, triggered the 2022 account review you conducted?
Bitgo received a subpoena that identified Himalaya International Clearing Limited and individuals and other entities that I believe to be associated with that entity.
And what, if anything, what did you understand Himalaya International Clearing was?
I understood that they were an entity. I recall they were incorporated in the British Virgin Islands and that they were the entity behind or operating the Himalaya exchange.
Mr. Roberts, did this subpoena require Bitgo to conduct the account review?
No.
And what direction, if any, did you get from the U.S. government when you began the account review?
I do not recall receiving any direction from the U.S. government.
Was this 2022 account review different from the review you conducted the year before?
Yes.
And in what ways was it different?
The way it came about was different, the purpose of the review is different. And the parties and entities we were looking into were different.
What was the first step of your 2022 account review of the Himalaya exchange?
Our first step was to go and try and learn a little bit more about the names and entities listed in the subpoena. So that the first step is typically go and do an open source review on a publicly available database such as Google.
And what material from the Himalaya exchange, if any, were part of this review?
An account review such as this one will encompass review of account profile information that Bitgo has collected about Himalaya exchange.
Did the Himalaya exchange have a website at this time?
Yes, I recall that they had a website.
And was reviewing that website part of your review?
Yes.
What materials, if any, from that website did you consult?
I recall consulting white papers that were prepared about the Himalaya dollar and Himalaya coin and clicking through the several web pages on their website.
You said you looked at white papers for the Himalaya coin and the Himalaya dollar. What is a white paper?
In the blockchain industry, a person seeking to develop a new blockchain or a cryptocurrency often chooses to publish a white paper which will outline the kind of purpose of a cryptocurrency, a blockchain, how it operates, and various other pieces of information.
In this first phase of your 2022 account review, Mr. Robert, what, if anything, did you learn about the price of H-coin?
I recall learning that H-coin had a price and that it seemed it was something that we were interested in and reviewed further.
And when you reviewed the H-coin's price further, what did you find?
I recall finding that it appeared to have a very large apparent market capitalization based on the number of H-coin I understood to be in circulation. And the price of the H-coin that I recall reviewing on Himalaya Exchange's website.
Mr. Roberts, when you say that H-coin had a large market capitalization, can you explain to the jury what that means?
Mr. Skirik said, objection, Your Honor. Can we have a brief sidebar?
The court said yes.
Continued on next page. At the sidebar.
Mr. Skirik said, Your Honor, thank you. I just wanted to flag because I'm anticipating that the questioning may go here, that we're going to get into an area where this witness is asked whether he found the large market capital H coin relative to what was in circulation to be something that struck him as strange or odd or unusual. I could be wrong, Mr. Horton can clarify. I believe if the question goes that far that would be over the line that we understood Your Honor to rule yesterday in terms of expert witness testimony.
The court said, I anticipate that he's going to testify that they decided to terminate the relationship because of certain factors. And if that's one of the factors, then it's appropriate for him to testify about it.
Mr. Skirek said, understood, Your Honor. And I think what we're just trying to understand is where the line is on what this witness's opinion is with respect to those issues versus the factual observations. Which is what we understood the line that the court drew yesterday.
The court said, so far he has only spoken about market capitalizations.
Mr. Skirek said, we could have this question read back, but I just wanted to register the objection now because either in this question or the next question, I anticipate us getting there. It may be fine. I think we're getting close to that area.
The court said, so I would anticipate that he would state that his company does not want to do business with companies that have these characteristics. Am I correct?
Mr. Horton said, generally right. He's conducting an analysis of these products in the market. He's taking in the information. And as Your Honor noted, he's testifying to what recommendation he should make with that information. So there are questions about what his real-time historical analysis was. The court's order was about general ties and general topics uncovered. I have no intention in going anywhere near that. He said that the one thing that he saw was market capitalization. And that was relevant to his investigation. I want to ask him what does that mean and how does that relate to the investigation.
Mr. Skirek said, look, just a final point, Your Honor. As the court may recall, in the government's expert's disclosure, Professor Sean spends quite a bit of time talking about this precise issue. How he believes in his observation as the expert that the large market cap relative to trading volume are indicative of certain things. So from that perspective, I think there's a significant overlap of what this witness's anticipated testimony will be based on what Mr. Horton just said.
The court said, so the expert is going to testify about his opinion about the significance. He's testifying about a fact and then a decision to terminate the relationship. So you're not going to ask him what does it mean that there's a large capitalization?
Mr. Horton said, certainly not going to ask him that. Generally what I will ask is he identified it as a fact that is relevant, that he saw a market cap that was relevant. How is it relevant? That's the bridge between learning the fact and making the recommendation.
The court said, it's only logical that he has to give some explanation for why they disapproved of this characteristic. And your witness will say that he disagrees with that, which is what expert witnesses do.
Mr. Skirek said, thank you, Your Honor.
Continued on next page. In open court.
The court said, you may continue.
By Mr. Horton.
Mr. Roberts, in this first phase of this 2022 account review, what, if anything, did you learn about the price of H coin?
I recall learning that it had a value. And that in light I recall finding open source information about the price of Himalaya coin.
And you said a moment ago that you observed the market capitalization of H coin. Can you explain to the jury what market capitalization means?
I understand market capitalization to be the aggregate amount of Could I start that again? The aggregate amount of a type of asset.
And what did you observe about H coin's aggregate amount?
I recall observing that it had a price somewhere in the range of $15 to $20 in that ballpark range. And that it also appeared to have a maximum supply of somewhere in the ballpark range of 1 to 1.5 billion H coins. So by multiplying the price of a single H coin against what the apparent amount of H coin circulation, that appeared to give H coin a market capitalization in the multi-billion-dollar range.
And what impact, if any, did seeing that H coin had a multi-billion-dollar market capitalization have on your review?
I recall that prompting us to go and understand what other information is out there about H coin, such as going to cryptocurrency market data websites to see if we could verify that information or learn more about it.
And in that process what, if anything, did you learn about the historical price of H coin?
I recall learning that we found some open-source news articles about a rapid price spike of the Himalaya coin in around late 2021 where it had shot up from a very small price, less than $1, to a very significant price, above $20 in a short period of time around a few weeks.
And what impact, if any, did seeing H coin's price go from under $1 to over $20 have on your review of H coin?
I recall being interested in trying to understand why that happened.
And what did you do to try understand why that happened?
I recall trying to learn, as I mentioned earlier, about going to try and find more information on cryptocurrency market data websites. I recall I was not able to find any information about H coin on these websites. So the next thing was to go and try and understand how their exchange was working and other associated things.
And, Mr. Roberts, why did seeing the historical price of H coin prompt you to take those next steps?
It was because I found that price spike to be an anomalous price spike compared to how I understand financial markets with cryptocurrency and Mr. Skirik said, "Objection, Your Honor."
The court said, "So you're nearly speaking from your point of view as an employee of your company, is that correct?"
The witness said, yes.
The court said, "You may continue."
Mr. Roberts, why did seeing H coin's price spike cause you to take these additional investigative steps?
Because I found that price spike to be anomalous compared to what I understand about cryptocurrency financial markets. And when we find something anomalous, that is starting a process of assessing whether it might present a red flag to us.
The court said, "So what do you mean by anomalous?"
The witness said, what I mean by that is comparing market activity like I observe with H coin or what I recall observing about Himalaya coin compared to other cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin, for example, and what I understand about the price fluctuation of those other cryptocurrencies.
And what did you see when you compared it to other coins? When you compared H coin to other coins as part of your review, what did you see?
Mr. Skirik said, "Objection."
The court said, "You may answer."
I recall concluding that at a general level, it appeared to be a very significant price spike compared to the well-known cryptocurrencies that I have familiarity with.
As part of this review, did you conduct a blockchain analysis?
I went to review information available in the blockchain about Himalaya coin and Himalaya dollar.
And what did you see when you went to look at the blockchain for Himalaya coin and Himalaya dollar? What did you see when you went to look at the blockchain?
I found that Himalaya coin was a cryptocurrency that had been created and published to the Ethereum blockchain. And I identified a wallet where I understood a significant amount of the H coin in circulation to be sitting in.
And who owned the wallet where you saw a significant amount of H coin in circulation?
I recall finding that this wallet was generated through the Bitgo platform and that it was a hot wallet held by Himalaya International Clearing Limited.
And when you say a significant amount, about how much of the H coin in circulation was in the Himalaya exchange's own wallet?
I recall it being nearly 100%.
What impact, if any, did that finding, that almost 100% of H coin was in the exchange's own wallet, have on your review?
I recall finding that it indicated that there is a significant concentration of ownership of the Himalaya coin.
And what impact, if any, did finding that the Himalaya coin was stored in a hot wallet have on your review?
That prompted me to go and look at assets that were cryptocurrencies that may have been held in their cold wallets.
What was the purpose of determining whether the assets were held in cold wallets or hot wallets?
The purpose was to get a complete picture of their activity in the Bitgo platform.
What did it mean to you, if anything, that H coin was stored in a hot wallet and not a cold wallet?
I remember finding that due to the apparent multi-billion-dollar market cap of H coin, that I would think that a business would seek to hold those assets in a cold wallet.
And why was your understanding at the time that assets like that would be stored in a cold wallet, not a hot wallet?
Mr. Skirik said, "Objection."
The court said, "You may answer."
Well, I recall that there was not a significant amount of blockchain transaction activity with H coin. So if you have multiple $1 billion worth of a cryptocurrency, I would think it would be preferable to store those in a cold wallet due to the enhanced security features that they offer. Mr. Skirik said, objection.
The court said, overruled.
Mr. Roberts, you said that part of your review is comparing H-coin and H-dollar to other cryptocurrencies. How did that comparison play out when you looked at the blockchain?
I found that nearly 100% of H-coin and H-dollar was stored in a single wallet, which I found to be anomalous for other cryptocurrency that are available. Mr. Skirik said, same objection.
The court said, overruled.
And, Mr. Roberts, when you anomalous, what do you mean by anomalous?
A lot of cryptocurrencies typically have.
The court said, I think what he's asking you to do is define the word.
The witness said, can you clarify which word?
The court said, anomalous.
The witness said, a finding that is not normal.
Mr. Robert, does Bitcoin trade on the blockchain?
Mr. Skirik said, objection.
The court said you may answer.
Bitcoin can be transacted on a blockchain.
And in your account review what, if anything, did you find that whether H-coin was transacting on the blockchain?
I found that there was not much blockchain transaction activity in connection with H-coin.
And what, if anything, did you find about whether H-dollar was transacting on the blockchain?
I recall making a similar finding.
Mr. Roberts, what impact did the comparisons you've testified about between H-coin and H-dollar and other cryptocurrencies? What impact did those comparisons have on your review?
I recall finding that the blockchain activity with these two cryptocurrencies was not what I would expect or anticipate for cryptocurrency activity generally.
And what impact, if any, did seeing relatively little blockchain activity for H-coin or H-dollar have on your review?
I recall finding that this was a red flag for us that we wanted to investigate further.
And what impact, if any, did seeing that almost all of H-coin was held in the Himalaya Exchange's own wallet have on your review?
I recall that being a potential red flag that we wanted to understand more about.
And what impact, if any, Mr. Roberts, did seeing that the H-coin was in a hot wallet, not a cold wallet, have on your review?
I recall finding that that was a red flag that we wanted to learn more about and investigate.
And why were these red flags?
Because the activity on all of those topics appeared not normal for a cryptocurrency exchange. Mr. Skirik said, objection.
The court said, overruled. You may continue.
Mr. Roberts, you said you read the white papers for H-coin and H-dollar. What did you learn H-dollar was from reading its white paper?
I understood H-dollar to be a stable coin.
And in your role as a head of financial intelligence at Bitgo, what do you understand a stable coin to be?
The interpreter said, Your Honor, the interpreter is requesting all parties to slow down.
The court said, all righty.
Can you please repeat that?
As the head of the intelligence unit at Bitgo, what do you understand a stable coin to be?
My understanding is a stable coin derives its value from another currency or asset.
And how does that work?
Mr. Skirik said, objection.
The court said, what is your understanding as an employee of this company that you work for?
That a stable coin will have its value derived from a different currency or asset that is not on it. That's not necessarily true. Just the different currency or asset.
And what is the connection then, if any, between the stable coin and that different asset?
The intention of a stable coin, as I understand it, is for the stable coin to maintain a stable price against that base asset or currency.
When you looked at the Himalaya dollar, how many units, if any, did you see were minted?
When I reviewed the blockchain information for Himalaya dollar, I recall there being something like in the ballpark of 1 to 1.5 billion, 1 to 1.5 billion H-dollars that had been minted.
And what, if anything, did you expect that to mean about its reserves?
Mr. Skirik said, objection. Your Honor, we just have a standing objection to this line of questioning.
The court said, is there a different question?
Sorry. Can you repeat that?
You said you observed there to be 1.0 to 1.5 billion units of Himalaya dollars. First I want to ask you, What do you mean units of Himalaya dollar?
Individual tokens. With cryptocurrencies, there's typically a concept of maximum supply. It doesn't necessarily have to be maximum, but take Bitcoin, for example. Bitcoin is regarded to have a maximum supply of 21 million Bitcoin. So that is the limit of the amount of Bitcoin that can exist. Mr. Skirik said, "Objection, Your Honor, to typical Bitcoin example."
The court said, "So you are testifying based on your own company's priorities and policies. Is that correct?"
The witness said, "I'm testifying because I was called to come here today to testify."
The court said, "What I'm saying is that you're speaking about the approach that your company uses in analyzing an issue."
The witness said, "Yes."
The court said, "Go ahead."
Mr. Roberts. You said a moment ago that there were between 1 billion and 1.5 billion units of $H minted. You observed that in your investigation. What does that mean, minted?
I understand that to mean the number of units of a token. Of a cryptocurrency token that have been created.
When you saw that there were between 1 and 1.5 billion units of Himalaya dollar, what, if anything, did that cause you to look for?
That caused me to seek to understand where the corresponding US dollar value was being held or stored.
And so in this context with 1 to 1.5 billion of Himalaya dollar. What do you mean by corresponding US dollar value? What does that mean?
So if 1 Himalaya dollar equals 1 US dollar, I would expect that there's a corresponding if they are in the ballpark of 1 to 1.5 billion Himalaya dollars in circulation. I would expect that there be the equivalent amount of US dollars or US dollar value stored somewhere else.
And what, if anything, did you ultimately find out about that?
Can you confirm that you're asking about the initial review in 2022?
I'll ask a different question. During your account review of the Himalaya exchange, what did you learn about the US dollar value that was connected to the 1 to 1.5 billion units of Himalaya dollar that you found?
After looking at this information, I was not able to find information available in the public domain or in the account profile information that explains Himalayas how they go about storing that value.
And during this account review, Mr. Roberts, what, if anything, did you learn about whether Himalaya dollar or Himalaya coin was backed by gold?
I do not recall making a finding about gold backing either of these cryptocurrencies.
When you reviewed the design and functions of the Himalaya exchange, Mr. Roberts, what, if anything, did you learn about whether customers could withdraw their H coin and H dollar from the exchange?
I recall doing a review of the mechanics of their exchange and having questions about the specifics.
And what, if anything, did you come to understand about whether customers could withdraw their coins from the exchange?
I recall wanting to know more information so I could understand how they could if a customer and how they could withdraw those coins from the exchange.
Did you ultimately learn if a customer could withdraw those coins from the exchange?
I recall getting more information about the mechanics of the exchange. I recall learning that being told by a Himalaya exchange employee that it was not possible at that time to withdraw H coin.
And what impact, if any, did that finding that it wasn't possible to withdraw H coin from the exchange have on your investigation?
I found it to be abnormal compared to how other cryptocurrency exchanges operate. Mr. Skirik said, "Objection."
The court said, "Overruled. You may continue."
Why did you find it to be abnormal?
Because a typical cryptocurrency exchange in my experience would allow their users to withdraw their assets. Mr. Skirik said, "Same objection."
The court said, "Overruled."
Mr. Roberts, let me ask you. What was the implication for your review of the exchange of the fact that customers couldn't withdraw their coins?
It was something we wanted to learn more about.
Did there come a time that you spoke directly with the Himalaya exchange?
Yes. There was a time where I spoke to people who I took to be employees of Himalaya Exchange.
And when did that first happen?
I recall that first occurring in early 2023.
What was the purpose of that call in early 2023?
The purpose of that call was for Bitgo's compliance team. including myself, to ask questions about the Himalaya exchange and findings we had made from our investigations thus far.
What were the questions that you wanted to ask them in January of 2023?
Mr. Skirik said, objection.
The court said, you may answer.
I recall there being various questions, including questions about the mechanics and how their exchange works, about more details about the Himalaya dollar stablecoin, and other questions about where they're physically operating from and other things.
Did you receive sufficient answers to these questions on this call in January of 2023?
Bitgo received responses to these questions. I recall thinking or finding that we wanted to dive further into some of the responses we received.
By the way, what kind of call was this in January of 2023?
This was a video call over the internet.
On this call, what, if anything, did the exchange tell you about H-Coin's price?
I recall asking a question about H-Coin's price and getting a response along the lines of, Mr. Skirik said, objection, hearsay.
The court said, you may answer.
I recall getting a response that the price fluctuated on a daily basis. Mr. Skirik said, Your Honor, may we have a brief sidebar?
The court said yes.
Continued on next page. At the sidebar.
Mr. Skirik said, Your Honor, our understanding is that this line of questioning is about a conversation. About multiple conversations that this witness had with the General Counsel of the Himalaya Exchange. And there's been our understanding of the court's second ruling with respect to co-conspirator statement and with respect to agent statements is that the government first has to proffer that the General Counsel is either an agent or a co-conspirator. The government has not done so. And so this witness testifying about what the General Counsel in the exchange told him in January of 2023. According to the court's ruling is inappropriate and it's hearsay.
Mr. Horton said, Your Honor. The purpose of all these questions and the purpose of this testimony now is really at the time of the statement. What was the impact, the effect of these statements on him? Whether or not they're true. Of course, the nature of these statements is that most all of them are false. So there's a few reasons that they're not hearsay. When a witness like this whose job is to obtain and analyze information about its customers, getting statements for the purpose of their effect, that's what I'm trying to elicit.
The court said, he's basing his ultimate conclusion on information gathering from different sources, one of which was conversation with someone at.
Mr. Horton said, it's supposed to be people from the exchange.
The court said, I think it's justifiable. He's got to be able to explain why it is that they made their decision.
Mr. Skirik said, he can certainly do that without eliciting from the witness statements that this person made.
Mr. Horton said, that was the source of the information. He analyzes the customers by calling them up and saying answer our questions, please.
Mr. Skirik said, Your Honor, we maintain the objection. At the end of the day, we understood the court's ruling back in May to be that the government can't take the position that every employee of every one of the companies at issue here over the entire period of time at issue is effectively an agent of the defendant, such that their words are the words of the defendant.
The court said, well, they're not necessarily the words of the defendant. He said he needed to do research. He made inquiries. Based on those inquiries they decided. The answers to those inquiries they decided to terminate the relationship. How else is he going to explain why they made their decision?
Mr. Skirik said, I get it. I'm not saying he can't. I'm just saying that there has to be some showing that the person who is a declarant, a witness who is going to testify about those conversations, there first needs to be some proof that that person was a co-conspirator or an agent. Otherwise, I don't understand why those conversations are ones that can come into the jury.
Mr. Horton said, setting aside the evidence that has come in and will come in about the Himalaya Exchange Agency and their relationship with the defendant. Setting that aside, they're not coming in under the co-conspirator or agency exception. They're coming in as the effect on the listener.
The court said, that's my understanding. Alrighty.
Continued on next page. In open court, jury present.
The court said, I understand that we need to take a break at this time, so we will do so. Remember that you're not allowed to discuss the case amongst yourselves, or with anyone else. Don't permit anyone to discuss the case in your presence. Don't read, watch or listen to anything having to do with this matter. We'll resume at noon.
The law clerk said, "Jury exiting."
Jury not present.
The court said, "Sir, you may step out. Don't discuss your testimony."
Witness temporarily excused.
The court said, "You may be seated. Is there anything further before we break?"
Mr. Finkel said, "Not from the government."
Mr. Skirrick said, "Not from the defense, Your Honor." Thank you.
The court said, "All righty."
Recess.